So I'm sure some of you are going to tell me how evil and anti-consumer this is, so I'm ready for it. Let's talk about this.
Yes, the Epic Games Store. That super great storefront that gives you all of the benefits that Steam does, or that Origin, or, uh, Uplay. Wait a minute. It doesn't do any of those things, right? Yeah, I want to hear what you have to say about this one.
Hey everybody, what is going on? Brandon here, and in an epic turn of events, no pun intended,
Oh yeah, you made the Epic joke because you get it. The Epic is it's in their name. Yeah, that's real funny.
there has been what I would consider a game changer when it comes to the Epic Game Store. Something going on behind the scenes that just showcased itself a couple days ago. It is actually huge for the Epic Game Store, and in my eyes, is actually a very pro-consumer thing happening behind the scenes that everybody seems to be shrugging off and not really paying attention to.
You know, when you say things like Epic Game Store and pro consumer, that does go a little bit over my head, seeing as how anti consumer they are. You know, by bringing exclusivity to the PC platform, which is why most people that are on the PC platform decided that they wanted to get away from. So they abandoned their console so that way they could play virtually every game ever made. And if it's not out, then soon it'll be out because that's how development works. I mean, most of those games were created on PCs for consoles, and just porting them over or restructuring them to work on a PC is easier. But go ahead and tell me what this very pro consumer thing that Epic Game Store is doing.
For the last few months, everybody's been clamoring to tear down the Epic Game Store about how anti-consumer they are, basically getting crappy with the Epic Game Store for doing the exact same things that Steam did when it launched. And I'm not really sure how that's anti-consumer, especially seeing how now Steam pretty much had a monopoly on the market, and that finally got broke. And anybody that knows anything about business knows monopolies are not good.
What are you talking about? Some of the most beloved things are monopolies. There's Pokemon Monopoly, then there's Sailor Moon Monopoly, and even Nintendo Monopoly. I don't think that that's a very good thing that you just said. I think that those are very fun games. Now, in terms of what Steam is doing, Steam did used to have a weird stranglehold on the PC community because it was the biggest place that you could buy games, but they had very anti consumer practices that were then broken up because of different launchers that came along: Origin, Uplay, and even GOG, or GOG if you're one of those people that say it that way. But all of those things give you those PC games. Even the Windows Store, as awful as it is, it still gives you an option to buy games, even if you don't want to, play them because they're horribly optimized. But that's because they had a broken up monopoly, and people accepted it because Steam had to then enter themselves back into the game by changing up a few of their policies. They had to make things that were very consumer friendly, like return policies. They started giving people cloud saves, so that way, in case your computer was lost in a dungeon somewhere, you could still recover the save files. Or things like even just chatting with your friends. You could also broadcast those things to your friends, any gameplay that you had. You could also get the little cards, the fucking trading cards. You could get those. And they don't really have any intrinsic value other than letting you level up, but that's because they had to make sure that you were a real person, so that way you had to spend money on a game, $5, to make sure that you're not a bot account, and you could get those Steam trading cards to then get a higher rank, and then you could add more friends. I mean, these are things that are, little bits and pieces of what the Steam store offers, but Epic Game Store doesn't even let you have a fucking shopping cart.
And apparently people just don't forget or don't remember back when Steam first launched and had none of the features: going to Walmart, buying a disc, coming home, getting it installed, getting ready to play, and you couldn't play the game because you had to have Steam installed, and nobody wanted to do that. That was the most annoying thing ever.
So I guess Steam is like the only thing that does that. I mean, not that when you go to buy Fallout 76, for example, and they give you a cardboard cutout that is essentially just a code to then take you to the Bethesda launcher, and then you could only play the game there. And that's why it was anti-consumer, and people called it out for what it was. Don't act like Steam was the only one that's doing this, and trust me, I love Steam, but I also like competition, because then if there's competition, then that means the consumer wins, generally speaking anyways.
And it was the same thing that is happening right now with the Epic Game Store. Steam was getting a hold of developers and saying, okay, if you want to publish your game on PC, go through us. We're going to offer you these deals. We're going to offer you this much of a revenue cut. We're going to work with you on marketing. We're going to help you out here. all that you need to do is make to where your customers need to download Steam to play our game. They did the exact same thing.
It's almost like you're skipping over this intentionally. The thing that makes people hate the Epic Game Store is that they buy up games that were already previously announced for multi-platform, Xbox and PlayStation 4, and even for the PC through Steam. And what Epic Game Store is doing is ripping those sales away from Steam and saying we're going to launch it exclusively on our Epic Game Store launcher. Steam doesn't necessarily do that. Steam does offer them a platform to where they could publish their game, and then they do tell them about their cut that they get from making games and making money, but they don't stranglehold them to do that. The only thing that they have an actual control over are their own published titles, such as Portal or Team Fortress. Those are first-party titles by their own company, so they would naturally be on there. No one cares that Fortnite is exclusive to the Epic Game Store launcher because they helped make that game. They are the ones that developed it. But when it comes to any third-party seller, so for example, Metro Exodus, or even through Borderlands 3 that's coming out exclusively for at least a 6-month period, those weren't developed by Epic Game Store. Those were developed by other developers. And when they locked down that exclusivity, that's what people don't like. And I don't think that you're getting that point across.
Epic is doing, but back then apparently, as much of an annoyance as it was to some of us that do remember, apparently people don't remember that they did the exact same thing, and now that's okay. It's okay that Steam does this, it's just not okay that Epic does it, which is complete and total BS. But this new thing that is now going on behind the scenes with Epic Games is actually very pro-consumer. I would honestly say probably the most pro-consumer thing that a company can do when it comes to the gaming industry.
What is that? They have a game with no microtransactions or, expensive DLC that's $93 for a complete season? I mean, I really hope that this is very pro-consumer. I hope that what you're going to tell me is very good news.
And yet some people are probably going to defend it and say that it's not.
Well, yeah, if it's dumb and it's not pro-consumer, yeah, then we'll say that it's dumb and anti-consumer, but just tell me what it is.
And that is full crossplay support. Now, I know what you're going to say. Well, Steam and Rocket League had crossplay with PS4, Paragon had crossplay with PS4, Lawbreakers had crossplay with PS4 and PC. Yeah, a lot of companies have had crossplay with PC and just the console. There's been other games that have done it. They did it back in the Xbox 360 days and the PlayStation 3 days with one of the Final Fantasy games. I mean, that's been going on. But one thing we haven't seen is PlayStation 4 users, Xbox users, and PC users all in the same area.
I mean, yeah, crossplay is a very good thing. I mean, that's good for the consumer. Blizzard's doing that with the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare game that's coming out that I will probably buy. I might buy it, just letting you guys know that. But yeah, full crossplay support is very pro-consumer, so that way, if you want to play with your friends that might own a different console or a different platform, then you can play with your friends instead of having to buy multiples of that game if you want to play it on a preferred platform. So yes, this is very pro-consumer. What are you so worried about here?
And Switch users. We've not seen that until Epic Games stepped into the fold.
Oh, I mean, wait a minute. Wait, what did you just say?
They have been the one company that has been able to tear down those walls and actually get Sony on board with crossplay with Xbox. And now not only is it with Fortnite, they recently acquired Rocket League. It's now available in Rocket League. And it's also available in Dauntless. And they didn't even acquire Dauntless.
So you're attributing crossplay because Epic Game Store started doing it. Just never mind all the other stuff that happened before that. I mean, even Microsoft was like, hey, you want to play Minecraft with your friends on the Nintendo Switch? You can play that with them. You can play that with them on the Xbox. You can play that with them on the PC. And hell, you can even play with them on mobile. But no, it's the Epic Game Store that's the good guys. They're the ones that's pushing crossplay. Oh, goodness. This is great.
They just published it for him. They just published it for Phoenix Labs on the Epic Store, and now we migrated our accounts. Those of us that have been playing Dauntless for the last year or so, we're able to migrate our accounts and play against people on Xbox and PlayStation 4.
Speaking of PlayStation 4 and what I just brought up about Minecraft, you'd know that Sony is one of the only companies that will not allow crossplay. It's only if they find it very beneficial to them, but not if it's Microsoft and Nintendo saying, hey, let's play Minecraft together. That's why there was a whole ad campaign about it. That's not because of the Epic Game Store. I mean, Epic Games Store is doing a good thing by supporting crossplay, but it definitely didn't start with them.
And this is because Epic Games, they've designed a system that works perfectly with this.
Do you remember Microsoft Play Anywhere, or did that just get swept under the rug or something?
They've got the server set up for it. They've got the plugin for Unreal Engine 4. So if you're making your game in Unreal Engine 4, they are offering deals to get this plugin to make it crossplay. And they're offering the connection. You know, they are already behind the scenes with Sony getting crossplay support. They're already getting everything working.
Well, with Epic Games making $2.4 billion last year, I would assume that they would probably have the time and the money to invest in servers, or even this investment into crossplay. I mean, that would be insane for them not to. Fortnite is their biggest money maker ever. So yeah, I think that they should have all that stuff in order, seeing as it's a massive game, and then, getting all of their servers in order. I mean, they're not EA where their servers are terrible, but they still make billions of dollars off of FIFA or Madden games, which is still insane, honestly.
They've been the only ones to really push this boundary, and they're doing it now with more games. The only thing that has to happen is they're getting developers to publish on their launcher on PC, and that allows them to be crossplay with Xbox and PlayStation 4 users. Now, I'm sure some of you are going to tell me how that's anti-consumer, but I honestly think this is probably the most pro-consumer thing ever. So, because let's face facts, the Epic launcher on computers free.
Yes, the old Epic Games launcher is only a free download. Just download it, guys. But there's always been concerns that Epic Games Store launcher has been somewhat of a spyware kind of program, and even if that got debunked, then the only other thing is that people just don't want that on their computer. They refuse to install it. There are some people that just don't want to open another launcher, and that's perfectly their choice. But just because it's a free download doesn't make it good or any more usable. It just means that now they can get all that good information from your computer. It means they can look at your Steam library and your Steam friends and then, go on about their happy way because, Tencent, they're also there.
It doesn't cost you anything. So being mad and saying you're going to wait to buy a game for a year until it comes on Steam, or saying how anti-consumer Epic is, you're going to pirate the game instead, that's, no.
Well, actually, yeah, I think that some people are within their right to do whatever they want. Now, with piracy, it's a little bit weirder. I don't really care that much for piracy. I think that if you live in a country or an area that games are just not easily accepted or something that you can purchase, then yeah, I think that piracy is a good option. But I guess that's kind of like my stance on it. But if there's some anti-consumer practices happening, then sure, go for it. That's a form of protest in my opinion. Now, if it comes to waiting for, let's say, Borderlands 3 to come out in 6 months after its initial launch to be on Steam, then yeah, I think I support people that want to do that. Because when you're looking at a feature-rich program such as Steam, then you can get more out of your game with mod support, or even with broadcasting your games directly on Steam, or even getting those Steam trading cards that I mentioned earlier. There's just so many things you can do on Steam. It lets you preload the game, which is something that Epic Games Store doesn't do. And that was from Tim Sweeney himself. So no, I think that people would probably be better off waiting for Borderlands 3 to come out.
That is definitely being anti-consumer.
Waiting for a game to come out on a better platform, such as Steam, is anti-consumer? How does that work? How does this work for you?
If you not wanting to download a free launcher, if now you have the ability to download a free launcher and possibly play games with your friends that don't have gaming PCs, I've got friends that don't have gaming PCs that have been waiting to play Dauntless, that I've been waiting to play Dauntless with. Now I can play Dauntless with them because they have gaming consoles. I can play with them on my PC. Or I can get on my Xbox, or I can get on my PS4 and play with them.
Wait, so are we talking about what we were just talking about, with Epic Games Store and, waiting a couple of months to get a game? Or are we talking now about, the crossplay thing again? Because it seems like you're just jumping from one ship to another, and we haven't even finished talking about the other one.
And I can play with any of my friends that have that game now, or that have a console that can run that game. You can't really do that with a lot of the games on Steam, and nobody else has been paving a path for this to be possible other than Epic Games.
Now I feel like you're just getting into the territory of just a lot of misinformation. So allow me to list a couple of the games that I found according to this website Screen Rant, which I can confirm because I've been able to play these games with people before, is that there's just a couple. There's a whole list of them, excluding Minecraft that we already talked about. There's still a game called Smite. You know, the MOBA that people play apparently by Hi-Rez Studios. Well, that's a cross-platform game, which means you can still play with people on the Xbox and the Nintendo Switch, and you guys can just play the game together. There's Ultimate Chicken Horse, which is a fun little party game that you can play with people because now it's ported over to the Nintendo Switch. You can play Brawlhalla, which is another game that you can play cross-platform with each other, and it has a lot of, cute little characters in it. It's just like Smash Brothers, but not as popular. There's also DC Universe Online that lets you play with people on PS4 and PC. There's Paladins that's across the platform as well, so PC, Xbox One, and even Nintendo Switch. Now, there's other games that are probably listed here, like Ark Survival, but I think you probably have to buy that like on the Windows Store. But there's other games that you can play. Even War Thunder, which is a free-to-play game. You can play games like that with people on the PS4. So it's not a foreign concept that I can go and find some of these games that support cross-platform. I just think that you're giving the Epic Game Store a lot of credit when they don't really deserve a lot of the credit that they're getting. In fact, I think it was more Microsoft that helped push that whole anytime that you want to play a game with someone like Fortnite, you can play with them on mobile or even on your PS4 or Xbox One, even on the Nintendo Switch. That was because Microsoft worked with Epic Games to help make that possible. So let's not suck the dick of them too hard.
So, somebody please tell me again how this is anti-consumer? And I'm sure some of you are going to come out of the woodwork telling me how this is anti-consumer with your tinfoil hats and tell me how this is all a conspiracy theory so that Epic can do this and they can do this and they can get a hold of this company to do this and they can get a monopoly on the market. And you know what? You may be right.
Straw manning the video, everyone.
They may end up with a monopoly on the market at this point in time, but that's why we need to learn from our past mistakes and not let it get to that point. We don't need to let Epic get a monopoly on the market. We need Steam to compete. We need Steam to get better. That way we have choice. That way we have options as consumers.
That's really odd because Steam is better than the Epic Game Store. It's a much better marketplace. I think that Epic Game Store needs to become a better storefront entirely, because if you make too many transactions at, a small window, then they lock your account for suspicious activity. And you can't have any family accounts. That's also another thing. I just figured you might want to know that if you were going to, love Epic Game Store a little bit more.
But if Steam doesn't compete and Steam doesn't, do anything to try to keep their customers and try to keep their developers, then Epic's gonna end up doing the exact same thing Steam did and just basically roll over everybody and have a monopoly on the market that we are gonna have to compete against.
I don't think we have to worry about that too much since, most of the games that are on the Epic Game Store, or maybe all of them at this point, don't support user reviews. So if a game is actually bad, you won't know that until you've spent your money. And then you have to go through the entire process of hoping you get a refund.
But the thing here is we needed to break Steam's monopoly far more than we need to worry about another one. So right now we just need to break Steam's monopoly and hopefully people use common sense and use their heads and Steam uses their heads and we can actually all win here.
I honestly think, and this is my honest opinion, I think Steam is doing a lot better than the Epic Game Store is. And they don't really have to do a lot. All they have to do is simply exist and stay as they are. They're always constantly improving what they have. I mean, sometimes their improvements aren't so great, but I think that they're doing a lot better than the Epic Game Store. I mean, there's just nothing there. That's why Steam is so loved, is that it's on the Mac and it's on Linux. I don't know. I mean, there's a myriad of things that Steam just do better.
If we can get more companies on board with the crossplay, if Steam could try to get something done there, that would definitely be in their best interest. Because right now, you've got Epic Games with a huge deal that can basically break a lot of barriers and get a lot of devs signed over to them.
I just want you to realize something here, that from a developer standpoint, that's their job. To get those servers up and running for their games. That's not really anything to do with Steam necessarily. I know we kind of had this whole thing before, but Steam will support games that have crossplay, but that's not their responsibility. if you go to look at the Halo Master Chief Collection, I pretty much butchered that, sorry guys. If you look at the Halo Master Chief Collection, you can see that it requires you to have an Xbox Live account, so you can cross-play with people.
The promise of cross-play with all the other systems by publishing on their launcher is huge. It's much more pro-consumer, it's going to benefit a lot more people, and that's going to cause a lot more developers to leave there, because if a game developer can publish with Epic and then also publish on PlayStation 4 and Xbox and have cross-progression and cross-play, they're more than likely going to take that, especially seeing how it's less money for them to do that than it is to publish on Steam, who doesn't offer cross-play.
Wait, I think I get what you're saying. It took me about 20 minutes to get to this point, but you're wanting cross-platform for games that are going to be on the Epic Game Store and not on Steam because Steam has a monopoly. Or maybe I'm just misinterpreting this because I'm, pretty fucking stupid, but maybe that's what you're saying? I don't know, because either way, cross-platform isn't anti-consumer. Epic Game Store is buying up developers, so that way they have to launch their game exclusively on the Epic Game Store and not on Steam, which is anti-consumer. So if that's the way that you're going about it, sure, I can see where people are getting anti-consumer out of what you're saying about crossplay is, but shouldn't that just be enabled across the board? Shouldn't Steam have that same functionality from these developers and not just from the Epic Game Store?
So it doesn't offer cross-platform publishing either. So definitely, this is, in my eyes, a very pro-consumer move, and I'm hoping a lot more people see that and understand that. But we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, maybe here in the near future we can see if, the Epic Game Store will give us cloud saves or user profiles so that way you can set up family accounts or even forums in case, you need to fix a game or, just talk about the game at all. Maybe they'll give you some kind of group feature where you can see things in groups or even library sorting, but I doubt we'll see any of that anytime soon. I mean, that would be a little bit insane, but Steam has those things. I mean, I would assume that other launchers do, like Origin and Uplay. I would just be pretty remiss to say that those things exist already, but I don't know that. Maybe I'm the stupid one. Maybe we just need to go to the Epic Game Store, just like you said, and maybe we can get more people there to break up that Steam monopoly. I hope the sarcasm has helped you understand that I think that the Epic Game Store is a piece of shit and that I would still prefer to use Steam over it any single day of the week. I think that if you're trying to get people to move to a new platform, or in this case to the Epic Game Store, you better have those features already there. Because if they're not, then no one's going to use it. And yeah, everything that they have done up to this point is very anti-consumer. And I wouldn't blame people for not wanting to use the Epic Game Store. I think that if you're a child or if you just really want to play some Borderlands, then sure, go for it. I'm not stopping people from doing it, but just know what you're signing up for. Just know that you're not going to get a lot of features that you would get otherwise on other feature-rich platforms like Origin or Uplay, in this most recent case, Steam. I know it sounds so weird. It's almost like I'm a broken record at this point. Maybe I am. But, you get the point. This video is already too long for me. So if you guys want to leave your thoughts on any of this, then feel free to tell me, either there or add me on Steam, because I know I damn sure won't use the Epic Game Store.